You are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were. And when you discover that, you're able to radically change their life, like bring immense impact to them.
Hey guys, it's Mindi Linscombe, your host of the Something New show. We're so glad you came and joined us today. We are going to learn how to live a life worth celebrating. And joining me here in the studio is my friend from Phoenix, Arizona, Ben Kolarcik. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and traveling so far, and we did a lot of work together this week. But I said, hey, we got to get you on a podcast. People need to hear your genius. And so I want people to learn a little bit about you. You are a highly sought after personal brand strategist and presenter. Mm-hmm. You serve team lead with Brand Builders Group, which is how I found you. And recently you were recognized as one of the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing privately held companies in the United States, which is awesome. You also work with high 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs and business owners to craft impactful messaging and experiences that grow their brands and businesses, which is why we got to meet. So I'm so glad that you came into my life and operate kind of like a business coach to help me with my branding, my communication, my story. And I am so curious to how you got into this, because from what I know of you, prior to all of this, you were a musician.
Yes.
Like a sought after, huge career musician. What did you play?
So I'm a singer-songwriter. I played guitar. So if you see pictures of me, I'm one of 6 kids. And early on, you see baby pictures, I'm like screaming. And I have all my siblings just like, what is this child? So I feel like I learned from an early age, like, hey, look at me, middle child, pay attention. And that kind of turned into like, ooh, music's cool. I like singing and being in front of people. And I overcame a little embarrassing moment in 3rd grade. We won't talk about that. But moved on, and I saw people on stage. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. I was like 10 years old. And I was like, this feels really weird for a 10-year-old, but I know what I want.
Was your family musical?
Yeah, I've got some history. My dad used to sing. My mom's side of the family has some musical intuition. And, you did the normal like school choir type things, but I kind of took it to the next level. We were talking a little bit being in Colorado Springs here. There's some military affinity, and my family had a lot of that. And I was kind of the one like rogue child that didn't do that, and just, I'd like to say, entertain the troops. But it really was the first love. It was such a creative outlet. And so I learned guitar at 16. I was like, I want to write songs, and moody, broody teenage situation. I was like, I'm going to learn guitar. And I even talk about that with people, like the reward requires the reps, is what I like to say. And it's like, you just do this one thing, whether it's learning a language or learning an instrument. And so you just got to pay attention. But it grew and grew, and really kind of set me on a path to like write songs and then start to play out in public a little bit. Then people started paying me, which was really cool. And then I started traveling more, and then, word would kind of catch on, and I'd meet people and relationships. And before you knew it, I moved to Nashville, signed a record deal. I was in a band called Across the Sky. We kind of did a one-hit wonder thing. We did one album. It was super fun, traveled the world. Met my wife there in Nashville, Tennessee, had our first child. And that just kind of, once that started happening, it's like, wow, this road life kind of closed that chapter down, but still have been doing music in various capacities, still writing songs, even to this day. I think creativity is something that you don't really just turn off. Yeah. So I love it so much. But yeah, definitely had that segment. So
that was like a 20-year run.
It was a good run.
That's a while though, because most musicians dream of that type of career. You got it right out of the gate, which is a total awesome. Like sometimes I wonder how much of it, like Guy Raz always says on his show, How I Built This. He's like, how much of it was luck? How much of it was talent? Or what kind of combination of hard work was there in there? And I'm like, for you to graduate high school and get straight into paid musicianship, that's quite an honor. And then to do it for 20 years. Yeah. A full props to you, because I'm like, I know a lot of people dream of that, and that's really awesome.
It wasn't always the smartest thing. There were ups and downs, as there inevitably is. But yeah, it's so rewarding, and that creative outlet won't go away. There's such purity in those moments of creating. Mm-hmm. And it was so funny when I moved to Nashville, it does keep you humble, because as much as I had confidence in some of the abilities, you go to a place like Nashville or LA and New York, and you could go to a restaurant, and most of the servers that are there at that restaurant are as talented, if not way more talented than me. So it is a combination of like relationships and work ethic, because there's plenty of people that were way more talented than I could ever be. And that kind of gave me a good, healthy dose of like reality of like, wow, this is such an honor. I'm so grateful. You want to pour into other people and value those relationships and steward those well.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you must have been a good musician, but I think part of it was, to your point earlier, you said you were a good hang, or the right musician in the right band gets opportunities sometimes because they're a good hang. Like if you're neck and neck with another musician and you're equally talented, but one's easier to be around or relationally has a good EQ, you're saying like sometimes that helps open doors too.
I mean, I hope I was a good hang, but just when we were talking earlier, I was like, gosh, I learned so early on. There could be, a person with this level of talent who's like the best, but the hang is like, it's what I like to call the power of the exhale, right? And we see this in business and in leadership too, of like people that you partner with. It's like, sometimes you'd almost prefer the person who's got talent, maybe not the best, but you just have that exhale of like, oh, I get to see them. I get to hang with them. They add life and joy to the experience, right? I'm a pretty positive person, so I want more of that, right?
Yes,
so,
and if you're listening, you need to watch this on YouTube because you can see his big smile when he talks about it. So talk to me about when you made that career change, and partly is probably because of family, right?
Yeah.
So you're married with kids and that road life got hard.
Yeah, it gets hard. I mean, it's definitely demanding. And we went through, we've traveled and moved all across the country, and we've had our ups and downs, both in career, ups and downs in marriage and relationship and hardships there. And I'm so grateful. I met Brand Builders Group. You mentioned I work with Brand Builders Group, which really is the premier personal branding firm in the world. It's crazy to say that. We're only 6 years old. But my path aligned with theirs, and Rory and AJ Vaden, who I know are friends of yours, founded this company really a short time ago, and just it's a rocket ship going, and my path aligned with them, and it really spoke to my strengths. So I have background, on stage and performance, and I love helping authors, entrepreneurs, business leaders, speakers about getting on more stages and leveraging their personal brand to maximize their reach and their revenue, all of those things at play. And Rory and AJ had started this thing, and our paths aligned, and it just felt like the right challenge at the right time, leveling up my strengths, I feel like, of coaching. And there's a little bit of consulting. I know we both have background within the church space, and so there's counseling, there's coaching, and I've done that. And, marketing, it was like the beautiful marriage of all these things at one time, which was really, really cool. And so it's been just an honor to be with this team, which really is like a family. Mm-hmm. And we're able to come alongside, amazing people like you. Like I really... It's like I'm in rooms like with you and Jordan and other, 6, 7, 8 entrepreneurs, former NHL Hall of Famers, and I'm like, what is going on? These people I'm learning so much from you, and just it's such an honor to like see your brilliance at work, and in some small way kind of serve and support and like help with the strategy.
And it's not in a small way, like it's in a huge way. I think so many people have great stories to tell and great messages.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it takes somebody's set of eyes to pull it out of them, help them organize their thoughts so that it makes sense in a message to the world.
Yes.
So I think what you're doing is like a huge calling. It's amplifying messages we all need to hear.
Totally.
But maybe that person would have been not great at communicating it until they met somebody at Brand Builders.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome. But I think I love the question you guys asked is like, why does even a personal brand matter? Mm-hmm. So many people here think I'm just selling a product or I'm at this company, but ultimately we're really all at the end of the day, our own personal integrity or reputation. Like that's where we're landing on, and the trust comes from. So maybe could you tell our listeners a little bit, like what is the importance, like why does developing your personal brand matter? I
mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like we do use personal branding, unfortunately, because of the world we live in, and it's not all bad. We think of like social media, influencers, some of the digital tactics and tools, which again aren't bad, but really what we distill the personal brand down to is your reputation. It really is the digitization of your reputation. What do people think about when they think of you? I think of a magnetic person, a brilliant boss and leader, and your positivity and your smile, just that we've been able to experience, right? It's all these things that I'm like, it's all of those things. And we were both talking about a love for Disney and the branding work that they've done. And I think I heard Bob Iger say recently, like, your strategy is only as good as your ability to articulate it. And so many of us, like, we work with some of the world's best kept secrets, and it's less about fame and fortune, but we try to come alongside them and strategize, how can we leverage your personal brand for more impact? And when you make impact, income will follow, right? But before there's ever transaction, there has to be trust. So how are we developing and cultivating trust in a relationship? And so we really come alongside to be able to say, like, not in a 30-minute meandering, winding like explanation, then people are left scratching their heads of like, wait, what do you do though again? As opposed to like really concise. And it's tough work, it's deep work. But this is the work that we really do, is coming alongside amazing people like you to do the things that most people don't do. It's instead of just jumping straight to like colors and aesthetics and fonts, which are cool, like we really dig deep, because like when you find yourself, ultimately, you're able to find the person that you're powerfully positioned to serve. And we really believe that. This is like a core belief that we preach, that we teach, and that we strategize with amazing people. It's like you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were. And when you discover that, you're able to radically change their life, like bring immense impact to them. And yeah.
Well, I just want to add a little highlight here, is that it's so much more attainable to people like us that have a message that we want to get out to the world, to not try to tackle the whole world.
Right.
Because I'm really just trying to impact the person I once was.
Yeah.
And then if you try to impact the person you once were, and somebody else the person they once were, we will happen to impact the whole world. Yeah. But being more just thoughtful and intentional about, okay, who are the people that I am here to help? Yeah. So like I'm here to help people that want a good marriage or want a good family or want to be a good business owner. Like those are the things we talk about on the show, but it's like only because I once was that am I able to do that. And you guys help me kind of curate those messages. And I mean, I can only imagine you have some fun stories about that.
A lot of fun stories. And I mean, it, like you said, sometimes it can feel counterintuitive because we inherently know, like when you try to talk to everybody, you speak to nobody. Really, right? We all inherently know that, yet all that we see is like the influencers and celebrities. They talk to millions of people and everybody, and like the influencers like, hey, y'all, just popping on to talk to the nameless, faceless people. And so what we really drill down to discover is like, wow, there is somebody that you can serve individually. And when you speak to them, we don't need to go really far and wide with like an inch deep, but you can go deeper with a few amount of people. And ultimately it actually helps revenue. Like it helps all the things that we would wish for and want by narrowing our focus. Because so many of us are chasing different things. It's like, oh, let's try this and let's try that. And really that's another core tenet of what we really teach, is that diluted focus leads to diluted results. And so many entrepreneurs and business leaders, they're amazing, smart people that have built businesses, yet they still feel like they're kind of like shouting into, the abyss. Nobody's really paying attention. Again, it's not about fame and fortune as much as we call our clients mission-driven messengers. They have a heart to share a message that has deep impact with people. And so it's really a joy to like help come alongside that and refine it. It's a pretty rewarding kind of process to be a part of.
So when somebody starts their whole personal branding journey, let's say before they are at a spot where they can hire a coach like you, what are some really easy things they can do right away on their Instagram, on their personal business webpage, like whatever it may be? Like what are some very simple, just like, this is just basic, like we should all have at least this.
Right. It really does come down to a person. And what I just shared, okay, we do have a process where we help people figure out, okay, who am I powerfully positioned to serve? And but it really does come down to like, instead of speaking to the world, is there a singular person? And most likely it's someone that you used to be. It's tied to something you've overcome. Right? And so you can look to that and see where there's been momentum and growth in your life and be like, gosh, I see those people around me. If only I could meet them 5 years before this, because I was there. I remember how hard it was. If I could serve them, and really it's something that I kind of talk about, the who determines the how. Once you figure out the who, Simon Sinek talks about, find your why, which I love. But really when you discover that, it's like, oh man, most people's why is connected to a person.
And that they want to help.
That they want to help. And so find that person. If you could radically change their life and you just teach what you know inherently based on your experiences, trial and error, maybe it took you 10 years, but now that you know what you know, gosh, you could come alongside them and it wouldn't take them 10 years. If you served them really well, it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years. How much more life could they live? How much more impact could you have if you could do that in a deep way with this one person? And then again, back to your tactical question, okay, once you find out who that person is, where are they? and then just go try to meet them and talk to them. So yes, if they hang out on Instagram, go follow them on Instagram and engage in them.
But
talk about who
maybe
you are.
they hang out somewhere.
Yes, maybe and we talk a lot about like referrals and presentations just being the lifeblood of every business. So tell people who you are and what you do. We complicate things so much sometimes. It's just like, could you find this type of person that you used to be? Do you think you could like tell them about your story? Do you think you could tell them some of the lessons you've learned? And then, yes, we can monetize it later on. But again, it starts with this deep desire to really impact their life and serve them in a deep way. And it's amazing how just like clockwork, yes, revenue follows and reach follows, because there's more people that are like, ooh, that's like this person in my life. Can you talk to them? Absolutely. And then as that grows, it's like, can you start a podcast to talk to those type of people? Yeah, I'd love to do that. And write a book and be on stages, right? But it starts with this one person that you truly believe and have conviction. I can serve them really, really well, and I think I can help transform their life.
It's gonna be a good day. Yeah. Okay. 3, 2, 1. It's showtime!
It's no secret by now that Something New is a special place where we believe life is worth celebrating. We come here every day to make sure people feel loved, welcomed, and brought into an experience of a lifetime. You'll see friendly faces, gorgeous gowns, a well-lit showroom to highlight everyone's natural beauty, and strangers becoming friends. It's a wonderful thing to shop somewhere that listens to you and makes you feel like you're the only one that matters in this most beautiful moment of your life. We'd love to have you and your friends find your dress and become a part of the Something New family.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, I love not focusing on a sale or a revenue stream. Focus on serving. And once you help them, you'll start to even realize, what do they need?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people come out with products that the market doesn't even need, or the person you thought needed it doesn't actually need that. They need something else.
Absolutely.
But when you serve with just the intention to help, it can guide you to something that they need.
Yeah. And we talk about that a lot, really, like people pay for solutions to their problem, but you can't really figure out what problem you're trying to solve for, until you figure out the who. That's why that is the genesis of the whole process. When you intimately know this person, it's like, gosh, I know exactly what they're bumping up against. That was me. I was there and I didn't have the education, and I wish I had somebody kind of tap me on the shoulder and say like, ooh, what if you did this? And challenge them, be curious about them and their life, and just care about them. In a world where everyone's wanting something from you, we all know that. Could there be a spot where I know I could help impact and I just serve them really, really well? And then eventually it's like, can I pay you to do more of that? It's like, yeah, we could do that if that's a desire, right? But that comes from just, again, this deep impact, which we love our clients to have.
Mm-hmm. So just curious here, this is a deep heart question for you. Who do you feel like you love to serve? Who has been 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
That's a deep question. Somebody asked me on a podcast recently, it had to be tied to vulnerability. And this is something that I'm stepping into, because I do believe that vulnerability is a choice as you tell stories. And so, yes, there's the tactical things of on stage. We were even talking about this today, like presentation and showing up really polished and the perception and all of those things. But I do think, as I continue to lean into vulnerability, I'm able to hopefully leverage that and encourage others. Like, hey, I know you have a story and you have an offer and all these things, but I'm not just trying to pull at people's heartstrings, but vulnerability connects, and storytelling, there is an ROI on that, but people are hungry and desperate for authentic, vulnerable people sharing details about their lives as much as you're willing to share. It doesn't have to be everything. And so that's how I'm challenging myself to step into, slowly but surely, knowing that I can lead by example, hopefully. Even if I'm kind of casting a vision of like, hey, I know you told me details about this story. This is what that could look like. Some people are like, oh, that's scary. It's like, okay, we don't have to say everything, but maybe we can craft this in a way because it's an important message to share, and people are hungry for that because they've seen the filters and they've seen the how things are like orchestrated and curated, but like, gosh, they're really like me. They had like before all the like fame and before all the success, you had struggles too. It's like, Yeah, I did. It hasn't all been pretty, and I can give you some of those things. And I was at this crossroad. I mean, I was learning things today from you and Jordan, just in your relationship, and I'm, making mental notes of like, okay, I need to take this back, apply this personally. Both Melissa and I can kind of start implementing some of these things that I think will really, really help. It's just, I love how you've kind of modeled that, and so it's something I'm trying to model as well.
So would you say previous person not vulnerable, not open about maybe some of the pain and heartache?
Yeah.
It's just work harder.
Yeah.
Maybe try different ways to have a better outcome.
Yeah.
Instead of like, actually, I'm kind of broken here.
Yeah.
Or, so would you say, hey, I love helping people. I'm trying to deduct what you shared. It's like the vulnerability piece, that's something you're working on. Is it because you're like, hey, that's who I can see myself, who I was before, was maybe not as transparent or vulnerable. And now I'm like, hey, vulnerability can be very powerful.
It is a really powerful tool.
Oh my goodness. It can help people feel safe with you. Yeah. So I guess I'm just wondering, is that because you feel like, hey, before you weren't?
Yeah, and I think it's vulnerability at scale, because I think just personally, I can engage in that in a personal way. And so one of my colleagues, Catherine, she was like, you really are like the performer, and it's very consistent with my life, right? I've been on stage performing for a long time. And so yes, to that point, it's like you can definitely lean heavy into performance, but there is power because people are curious about what is under that, what informs that. And so yes, that's totally right. To lean into not just the performance, whether it's high performance in school or whether it's high performance in your job or performance on stage of like, wow, they were really funny and dynamic and amazing, but also adding a depth. Again, I think a theme here we're talking about is a little bit of depth. And trying to model that and encourage others, like, I know you can be vulnerable here, but what does maybe vulnerability at scale look like? And it's not just for any other reason other than just to connect and know that other people are like, oh my gosh, when you shared that opened something for me. It allowed me to have a conversation, or it allowed me to take a first step towards transformation.
And I want to say something you did a lot in our time together when we were working is I would maybe share, you'd ask for a story.
Yeah.
I'd share a story and you would say, that made me feel whatever, or, oh, that really resonated with me because, and you bounce back. And I just think so many people maybe are sitting in a conversation somewhere. Someone takes the risk to be vulnerable, and I notice it can be just passed on. It could just be like, okay, and like moved right along. Yeah. Instead of how many times today you made me feel like, oh, that was like, okay, that was good. He liked that story. like, cause sometimes you wonder, you put yourself out there. Cause I think there's two people in this kind of equation here. It's like the person being bold and sharing vulnerability. Yeah. In the right amount, like not oversharing. But then it's like we have such a responsibility, I think, as the receiver of the story to echo back like, wow, that took a lot for you to share. Thank you for sharing that. Or it really moved me when you shared such and such, because now I'm going to think about that differently. And so I just want to say that was something I really noticed about you. That you take a moment to acknowledge and say thank you for being vulnerable and making that person feel like, oh, maybe I can share more next time we hang out, because he was a safe landing pad. Yeah, I think that's really important. Like, I mean, I care so much about what you're building too. And it's like, I mean, as a business coach, we could get very like corporate and strategy. But again, as we encourage and invite, okay, there's moments of vulnerability to share because I think it'll be impactful. I really appreciate you saying that. I try to do that. And I mean, you again brought tears to my eyes in some stories. I don't know these people, right, that you're sharing stories about, but like, I do kind of use it as a little bit of a pressure test as well. Of like, wow, thank you for sharing that. I'm like feeling everything that you went through, and it's powerful. And if it can happen here in this moment, I think that's a really beautiful thing that I think is worthy of sharing with the world. So, yeah, I mean, you have some pretty remarkable stories and interactions, and it's just a blessing. Again, this is why I keep saying, like, I feel so grateful to be in rooms like hearing you opening up parts of your life and your home and your family, and like the good, the bad, the ugly sometimes, of like, hey, but it taught me so many things, and I'm now able to help so many others. Like, I know, I'm thinking about all the types of people. Can you think of a story of like someone you're so excited that you got to come alongside and hear them say, I know it's been hundreds of people, right? Yeah. Where they said, hey, Ben, I feel like I have a message. You get to spend intensive time with them as their coach, pull it out of them. And then now, I mean, I just in the one day I came to visit the company, I met so many amazing success stories of people. And when I say success, I'm not talking about monetized success necessarily, even though that's probably there. I never even asked them.
Yeah.
I'm saying like they were able to take whatever message that was super on their heart. And because of Brand Builders, you guys crafted that into a really heartfelt message that made sense coming from the outside in. And it's like so amazing to see their books and their content, interviews on all the places you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like, do you have a story you're like, that one will like, I'll carry that one forever?
I mean, I have so many clients. There are testimonials for sure of just like, man, it was tough slogging and we were working together, for months and months. And then something started to shift in like month 13 and 14. And they went from, this revenue marker to others, which are really just like, I love how you said it's not necessarily about that, like the monetary success, although that's a great kind of marker and goal to hit. So there are those. I'm able to see like there's one coach within our community, and she has come to me and we've kind of done some refinement on some presentations. She has a really heavy story. She helps families of severely autistic children. And so this is like a coaching business that she has. And so even as we talk about presentation, there's opportunity for, humor and vulnerability. And we use all these tools and stuff, but my heart was moved for the mission that she has. And so it really inspires. Our whole team just cares so much and wants all of our clients to win so bad. Like I love that about our culture. I love that about our clients. And so she was so kind and sent me, some work that we did for a presentation she did in the Manhattan area. And she just told about all these like raving reviews and comments about the presentation, which we worked, back and forth on a little bit as we cultivated the storytelling and, not making light of a situation. It's making a heavy situation a little bit lighter sometimes. So, using some of our strategies and tactics to do that. But, I looked at her at that event that you were at, like she was sharing some of that. And I just, again, maybe I'm a little too emotional, but I had tears. I was just like, thank you so much for like trusting us to like come alongside you in this. She's doing incredible work. And that's the really rewarding part of what we do. Mm-hmm. Again, yes, we have mid 6, 7, 8 figure entrepreneurs and they're on stages and people that you've heard of, name recognized people, and they're doing all these amazing things. But at the core, that's why we respond so much to the mission driven messenger. It's like, gosh, we love coming aside people that really do have a heart.
Anybody.
Yeah, really anybody, to leverage their reputation, the digitization of their personal brand to really make deep impact in other people's lives. And then what's crazy is that when you do that, yes, all the stuff that most people chase and, initially follows, and it's effortless and it compounds and it scales and it's awesome.
And one last question, I guess, about personal brand is, I know it's building trust.
Yeah.
But can you tell me how would you define trust?
I mean, we talked a little bit about, doing business with people that like, and trust. And when we give talks and podcast episodes, we talk about a trends in personal brand study. We tried to like quantify some of this stuff. And so, one of those stats was like 74% of Americans will do business with people that they trust, i.e. that have a personal brand. So that informs like buying power, right? And so these are some statistics that do that. And the personal brand is just, doing that at scale. Again, serving people in a deep way, leveraging your reputation to do what you say you're going to do, to be very clear with it. And there's follow through. And it's not like, look over here and, duping people or temporary tactics. And I know it's a tough economy and a tough world, and we're all looking for like, gosh, this is an uphill climb. But your personal brand has staying power. This is not something that has a shelf life, right? In an era where it's like, do this really quick and maybe it'll work for a little bit and then it kind of fades out because a new thing happens and people learn that tip and trick. It's less about the tips and the tricks and the hacks and the shortcuts, and it's really drilling down to like, this is who I am. This is what I believe I can offer to the world. This is the person that I know I can radically change their life, and I can do it in an authentic, integrous way, which builds that reputation, and you transform their life. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to be like, hey, I meet as another person. You need to talk to Mindi and Jordan because I worked with them. It was unbelievable. You need to do that. And that's better than any digital marketing strategy in the world. And it compounds and it grows, and you can't shut it off if you try, because you've radically changed somebody's life. And I know that's a long-winded answer to your
Well,
question.
what I see is, or I hear you saying, and it's kind of what I think too, is like being so consistent over a long period of time, like doing the right thing, making an impact over and over and over.
Yeah.
That it's like your test of time, your like history of solving the problem or helping someone, it eradicates any sort of low economy, any sort of twist and turn, like you said, because like you are saying, hey, whether times are tough or times are good, I'm gonna be there.
Staying power, it's huge. Yeah, that consistency over a long period of time. And you've seen that in people that you admire, that you respect, that you trust, and you haven't necessarily thought of it in like a marketing way per se, but like
I see it as just a business owner, 17 years of doing the right thing, even when it's like, oh, this really isn't our fault, or we're going to take care of this situation when we really, let's just take the high road every single time or whatever. Like there's been 17 years of that, multiplied thousands and thousands of clients, and I'm sure with brand builders too. It's like it doesn't start there. It started on the day one when I said, hey, I'm going to do the right thing.
Right.
And then the next day, hard situation, I'm going to do the right thing. And not just for my clients, but for my team members, for former employees, whatever it might be. And so, like, I think building trust is, you have to build, it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
A lot of people want that quick fix. And I wish everybody trusted me or like believed me in my results. It's like, well, keep doing it.
Yes.
Consistently do the right thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
And eventually, I love what you said is like, when you change someone's life, that doesn't it doesn't go back.
Yeah.
Like you can't like unchange someone's life once you've changed their life. And so once you've changed their life or been a super impactful blessing to them in some way, like that's just another step forward in building trust.
And talk about like a reward. Like again, yes, money's awesome. And we love money. Money's a great tool to help you do more, hopefully, of what you're doing right. But like nothing in the world can substitute for like, and you saw glimpses of this when I was responding to you, and you see people come up to you after a presentation and they had no idea who you were, and then in a matter of 45 to 60 minutes you just rocked their world, sharing your story, giving them really practical, not again shortcuts or hacks, but like real tools that add value to their life. Nothing gated. I'm not gatekeeping anything. It's just like this can help your life. And they come up and they might hold your hand with tear-filled eyes and just say thank you so much. Like, oh my gosh, that is priceless.
Yeah.
When that happens and it moves people, it's really rewarding what we get to do.
It's so rewarding. Yeah. Okay, well, where can we find out more if we want to?
Well, you've been so generous in like letting me, by the way, first podcast in a bridal studio. This is amazing. Thank you so much for opening your space and your home. It's been so cool seeing you and Jordan at work. If you are interested, if any of this resonates with you and you're like, okay, personal branding, reputation, I'm not sure, but staying power, this is good, and reach and impact, I would love to offer a free call to anybody who's listening or watching today. And you can go to freebrandcall.com/BK. You said Ben Kolarcik. It's hard to say, hard to spell. That's why I just made it easy. freebrandcall.com/BK, and would love to just hear more about your journey, your story, and how we can support you.
That's awesome. Well, it's been such a great couple of days. Like, I can't wait until our next strategy session, because you have really gotten my, I'm all like
wheels turning.
Yes. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to sleep tonight, because I'm going to have all these ideas from our working sessions. And it was just a great team effort today with your team and Jordan. And I look forward to what's to come.
Same here.
So thank you for being on here.
Thank
so if
you
you guys like this episode, I know you're going to enjoy following along with Ben and so many others. Please subscribe to our channel, and we would love to give you more content like this. Like it, share it with your friends, and we hope we see you again on the Something New show. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, review, and share with a friend. Also, follow the Something New Show on Instagram and Facebook. If you want a fuller experience, watch the show on YouTube to help you create a life worth celebrating.